Chief Medical Officer Taiho rubbed his tired eyes and leaned back from the microscope. For 6 hours straight, he had been studying the tissue samples from the strange new species. Humans, they called themselves. The name felt odd in his mouth whenever he said it. The research vessel Stellar Harmony hummed quietly around him. The lab was his favorite place on the ship, clean, ordered, and predictable. Unlike these humans, they had met 3 months ago. Taiho pressed a button on his desk. A large hologram appeared in the center of the room. It showed 6 different hands side by side. 5 belonged to the most common intelligent species in the Galactic Confederation. The 6th was human. Computer, rotate human hand specimen and highlight nerve structure, Taiho ordered. The hologram zoomed in on the human hand. It turned slowly, showing all angles. Taiho shook his head in disbelief. "I just don't understand," he muttered to himself. He counted again, just 5 fingers. The thumb could barely move compared to his own flexible digits. The skin looked soft and vulnerable. There were far fewer nerve endings than any other spacefaring species. The lab door slid open with a soft hiss. Captain Jiwoo walked in. Her uniform perfectly pressed as always. Her 6 slender fingers adjusted her collar with quick, precise movements. "Still working, Doctor?" she asked. "It's the middle of the night cycle." Taiho gestured to the hologram. "I can't stop thinking about it, Captain. Look at these hands." Captain Jiwoo studied the display. Her head tilted slightly, making her short black hair shift. "What about them?" "They're all wrong," Taiho said, standing up to pace around the hologram. "Every advanced species we've ever encountered has developed complex hands. The Drevlak have 8 fingers. The Meroxi have 6 fingers with double joints. Even our hands have 6 fingers with rotating wrists." He pointed at the human hand floating in the center of the room. "But these humans have the stupidest hands I've ever seen," he continued. 5 stubby fingers, minimal flexibility. Their thumbs barely rotate 30 degrees. By all medical and evolutionary standards, they should struggle with basic tool use. Captain Jiwoo walked closer to examine the hologram. "And yet they built spaceships. They must be doing something right." "That's what doesn't make sense," Taiho said, running his 6 fingers through his hair in frustration. "Their hand design is primitive. They should be at a huge disadvantage." The lab door opened again. Minseo, the ship's xenobiologist, rushed in. Her eyes were wide with excitement, and she was breathing hard as if she'd been running. "Taiho, Captain," she called out. "You need to see this right now." She held up a small device and pressed a button. The hand hologram disappeared, replaced by a video feed. It showed a group of humans working on what looked like a satellite array. Their 5-fingered hands moved quickly, connecting tiny parts with surprising speed. "This was recorded an hour ago," Minseo explained. "The human engineers are helping fix the communication system on the lower deck." Taiho stared at the video. The humans weren't struggling at all. Their hands, those supposedly inferior appendages, were working with incredible precision. "Impossible," he whispered. "Look at this part," Minseo said, zooming in on one human's hands. "This connection requires threading a fiber optic cable through a 2mm opening. Our technicians use special tools for this. The human is doing it with just his bare hands." Captain Jiwoo leaned forward. "How? Their fingers are so thick compared to ours." "I don't know," Minseo admitted, "but it gets more interesting." She changed the video to another scene. A human female was working with a circuit board soldering tiny components. "Our engineers need magnification lenses for this kind of work," Minseo said. "She's doing it with normal vision." Taiho shook his head in disbelief. "It contradicts everything I know about evolutionary biology. Species with more advanced manipulators should have the advantage. Maybe we need to rethink what advanced means," Captain Jiwoo suggested. Taiho turned back to his desk and pulled up more data on his screen. "I've analyzed their muscle structure too. It's all wrong. They have fewer muscles in their hands than we do, but somehow they have more fine control. It makes no sense." "Do you think it's their brain structure?" Minseo asked. "Maybe they devote more neural resources to hand control?" Before Taiho could answer, an alarm sounded throughout the ship. The calm voice of the computer spoke. All senior officers report to the bridge. Incoming transmission from Galactic Confederation headquarters. Captain Jiwoo straightened her uniform. We'll continue this discussion later. This might be about the trade agreement. As they walked quickly through the corridors of the Stellar Harmony, Taiho couldn't stop thinking about those human hands. Everything he knew about science told him they should be clumsy and inefficient. Yet the evidence showed otherwise. When they reached the bridge, the main screen showed the stern face of Admiral Kang, the Confederation's representative for first contact situations. Captain Jiwoo, the Admiral said, nodding slightly. We have received an interesting proposal from the human delegation. What kind of proposal, Admiral? Jiwoo asked. They want to share their medical technology with us, Admiral Kang replied. Specifically, they claim to have advanced prosthetic limb technology that might interest us. Taiho couldn't help but laugh. The sound escaped before he could stop it. Everyone on the bridge turned to look at him. Is something amusing, Dr. Taiho? Admiral Kang asked, his voice cold. Forgive me, Admiral, Taiho said quickly. It's just, their hands are so primitive. What could they possibly teach us about limb technology? The Admiral's expression didn't change. The human ambassador will arrive on your ship tomorrow with examples of their work. You will examine them and report directly to me. Is that clear? Yes, Admiral, Captain Jiwoo answered. When the screen went dark, she turned to Taiho with a serious look. I hope your scientific curiosity is stronger than your prejudice, Doctor. Taiho felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. Of course, Captain. I'll keep an open mind. But as he returned to his lab, he couldn't help wondering what these humans could possibly know that the Confederation didn't. How could a species with such stupid hands have anything to teach them? Little did he know his entire understanding of evolution and technology was about to be challenged. The next morning, Taiho stood nervously in the ship's main docking bay. Captain Jiwoo stood beside him looking calm and professional as always. 5 other crew members waited with them, including Minseo, who couldn't stop fidgeting with excitement. Remember, Captain Jiwoo said quietly to Taiho. These humans are our guests. Be polite. Taiho nodded. Of course, Captain. The airlock door slid open with a hiss. 2 humans walked through. One was tall with broad shoulders, the other shorter with long hair tied back. Both wore simple blue uniforms with a round Earth symbol on the chest. Welcome aboard the Stellar Harmony, Captain Jiwoo said, making the traditional greeting gesture with her 6-fingered hands. I am Captain Jiwoo. The taller human stepped forward. Thank you, Captain. I am Ambassador Hyun, from Earth. This is Junho, one of our top engineers from the Seoul Orbital Platform. Taiho couldn't help staring at their hands. 5 fingers. Such primitive design. How did they manage to build spaceships with those? Ambassador Hyun noticed his stare. She held up her hand and wiggled her fingers with a smile. Dr. Taiho, I presume? I was told you're interested in human physiology. Taiho felt his face grow warm with embarrassment. Yes, Ambassador, I apologize for staring. I'm the Chief Medical Officer. Your hands are quite different from ours. That's why we're here, Junho said. He held up a metal case. We brought some examples of our technology that might interest you. Captain Jiwoo led the group to the conference room. On the way, Taiho noticed how many crew members stopped to stare at the humans. Most had never seen one in person before. In the conference room, Junho placed his metal case on the table. He pressed his thumb against a scanner, and the case opened with a soft click. Before I show you what we brought, Junho said, I should explain something. Humans have not always had perfect bodies. Throughout our history, people have lost limbs, in accidents, wars, or were born without them. He pulled out what looked like a human hand made of shining metal and clear plastic. This is one of our latest prosthetic models, a replacement hand for those who have lost their own. Taiho leaned forward with interest. The artificial hand looked exactly like a human one, but with a slight metallic sheen. May I? He asked, reaching for it. Junho handed it over. Taiho was surprised by how light it was. What does it do? He asked. Junho smiled. Junho, would you mind demonstrating? To Taeho's shock, Junho reached down and twisted his right hand. With a click, it detached from his wrist. Taeho gasped. Junho wasn't just carrying the prosthetic, he was wearing one. Your hand? Taeho stammered. Lost it in a mining accident 12 years ago. Junho explained calmly. He took the prosthetic from Taeho and attached it to his wrist. It made a soft clicking sound as it locked into place. This is my 4th model. Gets better every few years. Junho wiggled his new fingers, then picked up a small tool from his belt. He began to disassemble and reassemble it with incredible speed and precision. The neural interface connects directly to my nervous system, Junho explained as he worked. I feel what it feels. Temperature, pressure, texture, everything. Minseo was recording everything with wide, excited eyes. The response time is amazing, she said. No delay at all between thought and action. Ambassador Hyun smiled at their reactions. We've been making artificial limbs for centuries. At first they were just wooden legs or metal hooks. Now they're often better than the original limbs. Before Taeho could respond, the door opened. A tall, imposing alien with dark blue skin and 8 long fingers on each hand walked in. It was Doka, the engineering chief of the Drevlak delegation. The Drevlak were famous for their technical skills and precision work. So the rumors are true, Doka said, his voice cold. Humans have come to show off their primitive technology. Captain Jiwoo stood up quickly. Engineering Chief Doka, I wasn't aware you were on board. I arrived an hour ago, Doka said, not taking his eyes off the humans. When I heard humans were bringing medical technology to share, I had to see for myself. He looked at Junho's prosthetic hand with obvious contempt. This is what you came to show us? A fake hand? Ambassador Hyun remained calm. We thought sharing medical technology would benefit everyone, Chief Doka. Doka laughed, a harsh sound. Benefit us? What could we possibly learn from a species with such inadequate natural equipment? He held up his own hands, displaying all 8 fingers with their double joints. Our hands are the pinnacle of evolutionary design. Your species is playing catch-up with technology because nature failed you. Taeho felt uncomfortable. He had thought similar things, but hearing Doka say them out loud seemed rude and wrong. Junho didn't seem upset. He just smiled. Perhaps a demonstration would help? A friendly competition? Doka's eyes narrowed. What kind of competition? Engineering, Junho suggested. Building something complex from basic parts. Your natural hands against my prosthetic. 1. The room went silent. The Drevlak were known for their engineering skills. With 8 fingers on each hand, they could perform incredibly complex tasks. An interesting proposal, Doka said finally. But hardly fair to you. Ambassador Hyun stepped forward. If you're so confident, then you won't mind if we make it official? A public demonstration. Drevlak engineers versus human engineers. The Confederation Council would find it educational. Captain Jiwoo looked worried. Ambassador, are you sure this is wise? But Doka was already nodding. Yes. Let's show everyone the natural superiority of proper evolutionary design. I propose a real challenge. Constructing a working quantum communicator from basic components. 6 hours, standard parts. We accept, Ambassador Hyun said calmly. After Doka left, Captain Jiwoo turned to the humans with concern. Quantum communicators require extremely precise work. The Drevlak hold 17 patents on quantum technology. Junho just smiled. We've built a few ourselves. Taeho watched them confused. These humans had just accepted a challenge that seemed impossible to win. Yet they looked completely confident. What did they know that he didn't? News of the challenge spread quickly through the stellar harmony. By the next day, it seemed everyone on the ship was talking about it. The large engineering bay had been set up for the competition. 2 workstations stood ready, 1 for the Drevlak team and 1 for the humans. Taeho arrived early with Captain Jiwoo. They found good seats in the observation area. Do you think the humans have any chance? Taeho asked quietly. Captain Jiwoo shrugged. I don't know, but they seemed very confident. The room filled quickly. Crew members from every department came to watch, even some officials from Confederation, Headquarters had arrived to observe. The Drevlak team entered first. 5 engineers, all with the characteristic blue skin and 8-fingered hands. They moved with precise, controlled steps. Chief Doka led them, looking proud and confident. The human team arrived next. To Taiho's surprise, there were only 3 of them, Junho and 2 others he hadn't met. The humans looked relaxed. They were even smiling and joking with each other. Admiral Kang stepped forward to begin the competition. "Today we witness a friendly contest of engineering skill," he announced. "Each team will build a working quantum communicator from the provided components. You have 6 hours. Begin now." The Drevlak team moved like a well-oiled machine. Each engineer knew exactly what to do. Their 8-fingered hands worked with incredible speed, connecting tiny components with ease. They didn't need to talk to each other. They just worked. The human team was different. They started by opening several cases they had brought with them. Taiho leaned forward, trying to see what was inside. "Tools," Minseo whispered, sitting down next to him. "They brought special tools." Taiho watched as the humans put on strange gloves with metal parts attached to the fingers. One human opened a small computer and started typing. Another was assembling what looked like a tiny robot. "What are they doing?" Taiho asked, confused. "The quantum communicator parts are on the table." Minseo smiled. "They're not starting with the parts, they're setting up their workspace first." The Drevlak were already assembling the quantum core, their multiple fingers working on several components at once. They were clearly ahead. But the humans didn't seem worried. Junho was now wearing a headset with a small screen over one eye. The tiny robot was active, hovering over the workstation. 2 hours have passed," announced Admiral Kang. The Drevlak had completed nearly half of their communicator. The humans had only just started connecting the basic parts. Whispers spread through the observation area. It looked like the humans were going to lose badly. Chief Doka smirked as he glanced over at the human team. But Junho just kept working, his prosthetic hand moving steadily. Another hour passed. The Drevlak continued their methodical assembly, but something strange was happening with the humans. They were getting faster, much faster. Taiho leaned forward, watching closely. The human wearing the headset would say something, and the tiny robot would zoom in and hold a piece steady. Junho's prosthetic hand seemed to be changing, switching tools at the tips of his fingers without him needing to stop and pick up new ones. "They're working together," Minseo said with growing excitement. "The human, the robot, and the prosthetics, they're all part of one system." By the 5th hour, the Drevlak were still ahead, but the gap was closing. The humans moved with a fluid efficiency that was amazing to watch. Their 5-fingered hands no longer seemed limited. They had extended their abilities with their tools and technology. "Final hour," announced Admiral Kang. The Drevlak began to show signs of strain. Their movements were less precise, more hurried. One of them made a mistake and they had to go back and fix it. The humans, however, seemed to be getting even faster. The tiny robot darted between them, helping all 3 at once. Their gloves and tools worked like extensions of their bodies. With 30 minutes left, the Drevlak completed their quantum communicator. Chief Doka stood up straight, a triumphant smile on his face. The communicator looked perfect, a standard Confederation design. The humans were still working, but Taiho noticed something odd. They weren't following the standard design, they were making changes. "Time is up," Admiral Kang announced. Both teams stepped back from their workstations. The judges moved in to examine the results. The head judge inspected the Drevlak communicator first. "A perfect standard quantum communicator," he announced. "Excellent work." Then he moved to the human device. He looked confused. "This is different." Junho stepped forward. "We modified the design," he explained. "The standard model works well, but we found a way to improve the quantum focusing array. Our version uses 30% less power and has a 15% stronger signal." The judge looked skeptical. "That's impossible. The standard design has been refined for decades." "Test it," Junho suggested simply. For the next hour, the judges ran tests on both communicators. The room was silent as everyone waited. Finally, the head judge returned to the center of the room. Both communicators function correctly, he said. The Drevlak device meets all Confederation standards. He paused. The human device exceeds those standards in 3 areas: power efficiency, signal strength, and connection stability. A murmur of shock ran through the room. Chief Doka's face darkened with anger. That's not possible, he protested. They must have brought pre-made components. We examined all materials before the competition, Admiral Kang reminded him. Everything was standard issue. After the crowd began to leave, Taiho approached Junho. His curiosity had overcome his earlier prejudice. I have to know, Taiho said. How did you do it? Your hands have fewer fingers, less flexibility, fewer nerve endings. By all measures, they're less capable than Drevlak hands. Junho smiled. You're looking at it backward, Doctor, he said. Our hands aren't a limitation. They're the reason for our success. I don't understand, Taiho admitted. Come to my workshop, tomorrow, Junho suggested. I'll show you what I mean. As Taiho walked back to his quarters, his mind raced with new questions. Everything he thought he knew about evolution and advancement was being challenged. If human hands weren't a disadvantage, what else had he been wrong about? 3 weeks later, disaster strikes. A critical malfunction in the Stellar Harmony's propulsion system threatens to destabilize the ship's antimatter containment. With communications down and the engineering deck inaccessible, the situation seems hopeless. The ship's systems were designed for Confederation standard hands, specifically the dexterous manipulations that humans physically cannot perform. We need to bypass the primary control array, Do-hyun explains. But the access tunnel is too narrow for anyone but maintenance drones. Drones won't work, Taiho responds. The radiation is interfering with their controls. A young human engineer, named Sungho, steps forward. I think I can reach it. My hands may not be as dexterous as yours, but they're smaller. The maintenance tunnel is barely 40 centimeters wide, scorchingly hot and filled with radiation that would confuse the ship's drones. Sungho navigates through, his stupid 5-fingered hands working with the specialized tools he's designed. This would be impossible for us, Jiwoo admits to Taiho as they monitor Sungho's progress. Even with our superior hand design, we simply couldn't fit. Sungho reaches the control panel, but the Confederation standard interface requires simultaneous manipulation of 12 separate controls. I can't do this with human hands, Sungho reports back. No, Taiho says, sudden realization dawning. But you can redesign it for human hands. 1 standard year later, the Galactic Confederation has been transformed. The Stellar Harmony orbits Earth, now retrofitted with interfaces designed by human engineers. Interfaces that any species can use regardless of hand configuration. In the ship's observation lounge, Taiho, Jiwoo, and Minseo shared drinks with Junho, Hyun, and Sungho. I was so wrong, Taiho admits. I called human hands stupid because they didn't match our definition of advanced design. Junho laughs. They are objectively worse at many tasks. But that's the point. Our ancestors' mediocre hands forced us to approach problems differently. Across the galaxy, the human approach has become a revolutionary design philosophy. Ships, stations, and tools, previously requiring species-specific configurations, are being rebuilt with universal interfaces. The most advanced species aren't those with perfect biological tools, Jiwoo says, raising her glass in a toast, but those who recognize their limitations and engineer solutions beyond their biology. Sungho demonstrates his latest invention, a neural interface that allows any species to operate complex machinery, regardless of their physical configuration. Maybe having the stupidest hands in the galaxy, Hyun says with a smile, was the smartest evolutionary path after all. Taiho agrees, finally understanding that true intelligence isn't measured by biological perfection, but by the ingenuity to overcome it.